Okay, we are going to teach you how to do some rigging of boats. A little bit of nomenclature. This is your boat and your gunnel. This is your iaku. This is your ama. To start off, this boat has already been string rigged, so we're not going to redo the string rigging today. So we'll be basically working on how to strap it to the boat. The first thing you're going to want to do is find a thick rubber that's going to go underneath the boat and in between the iaku and the boat. Gosh, now everybody's standing around.
The pressure's on, Kate.
Oh, that's a good thing. We need to go out for sure.
Oh, just go ahead and get your things on. So the first thing we do is we're going to do a basic strapping on so that it at least stays in place while we get it measured. Your straps, you want to have about 10 feet of strapping, and you either want to have a backing to your strap or you want to have a rubber that goes behind your strap. There's various different philosophies about where you put your ratchet. Some people don't like to put it in the front in case seat 2 like slams back into it. So we're going to put it on the back of the strap. Do you mind coming around so you can see the whole thing? Okay, so we're going to start by putting our ratchet down the back of the iaku, over the top. Can you see inside the boat? We're going to come down through the hole in the bottom, making sure that our strap never gets twisted. Our strap is going to come through the hole.
Trying to hold this up here.
Okay, so you'll notice there's no real curvature in our strap. It's still pretty flush. Then we're going to come around the bottom of the iaku, over the top, back under, and then we're going to come through this other hole. And then we're going to go back through the base.
It's pretty conservative setup, right?
Yeah. So then to make an ending in your ratchet, you're going to go through the inner space in your ratchet, making sure that you're still coming out underneath the ratchet strap.
Twist it.
I think you got a twist.
Dang it. And I got a twist. Are you intrigued by my choice?
I'm intrigued by putting it through that hole at the bottom because it moves. It's super movable where this doesn't move at all.
Okay, well I'll undo it for...
I just have never...
And then we're going to start ratcheting it just to get it a light snugness. Gotten all of your strapping on in a loose, just holding it tight fashion. You're going to want to start measuring your distance from the gunnel of the boat. So you're going to sit it right at the edge of the boat and measure to the middle of the seam of the ama. You don't measure to the post because that can move on your ama. You really want your ama to be the most important centered space. So what you're going to do is you're going to try to scooch this out so that it's 68 inches to the center of this seam. The front one to the center of this seam to make sure that that's 68 as well. If it's not, you're going to do just slight kind of jiggles in and out. That's too much. Until you get right to 68.
Almost always fall exactly where the
Okay, so that's 68. So let's ratchet down one of those pretty tight.
and then
And you're just going to tighten one of them to ensure that you don't lose your 68 inches in the front.
Okay.
Okay, let's remeasure. And that is 68 to the middle of the seam. Great. So you have measured your front and your back at 68 inches. However, you don't know if you have been notched out or forward, towed in or out. So the best way to check that is to measure your diagonals. So you're going to go right to the corner of the boat and the ama on the inside wrench.
Excuse me?
And then you go to the back into the middle of the peg. And we're at 139 1/4. And we're going to measure our other diagonal. Sorry, Kate.
I'm sorry.
139 1/4. So somehow we are exactly even. If you aren't even, you're going to be scooching the ama back or forward and remeasure your diagonals until they're exactly the same. We'll be talking about string roping, and this is for the connection of the aku to the ama. These are always done with string. This is a cotton spiral string. You don't want to use braided, so it's pretty special stuff. And for any stringing, you're going to want 7 arm lengths. 1 length of string. 1, 2.
Your arm length?
Yeah. Whose arm length?
You have arms.
10 for anyone.
There's 6'1" and there's 5'4". I'm just saying.
Obviously, this is arbitrary. So I always tape off where I'm going to cut so that your string doesn't start unraveling. Cut in the middle of the string. Great. So if you would like to find another 7 long, that would be awesome. Okay. So generally, if it's crappy outside, raining, muddy, you don't want your string to touch the ground. So you generally need 2 helpers with you at all times. Anyone want to be my helpers? So to string rope, we've gone ahead and rigged our akus to the boat in pretty tight fashion. They're not measured yet. We'll measure after. You can hold that for me. So the first part of getting ready is that you need a tire underneath your ama. You see the tire?
Oh.
So you're going to be, and you might not want to stand over the ama because I'm going to be moving this around. Can somebody grab the nose? Somebody will hold your nose, and you're going to get this lined up to one of your akus. This is a Calmar, so there is no flange here underneath for you to know where it's going to like best land. So this is done by eyeball. Yep. And the things you're going to want to make sure you're doing is make sure it's flush side to side and is relatively in the middle of the ama. And to start your string, it's going to rock back and forth. It's okay if it does. But when you get your first 2 or 3 ropes around, you're going to want to make sure that it's tight. The other thing that we're going to do is we're going to put another rubber underneath in this area. So your helper is going to be holding onto your rope, and they're going to be navigating the end of your rope and all of the excess in between. The first way to start this is you're going to tie the end of your rope off pretty far up your aku. This is not anything important, it's just to hold your line here. So it's going to come towards your peg. You're going to take your rope and make a loop. The important thing is that the tail end, the long end, is underneath your short end as it goes around your peg. I start my rope on the left-hand side because I do. I think that you can start it on the other side too. It's a matter of preference. So this one is obviously not going to be, so the peg usually lines up with the center of an ama, but because this is so far off of the rigging, our peg is going to be flush with our flange here. So we line up our rubber. We make sure that it's flush through here, and we're just going to give ourselves a few opportunities. You can see I'm just getting myself set up. I've done my first loop through here, and this first loop is going to be as flush with the peg as I can possibly get. The rule is you never want your string to overlap itself. You always want to build a nice flat row of string up the aku instead of the peg. Your peg is small, your aku's big, this can break. So we go over, then we go under, and then over. And this is the one place where we're going to have it overlap, right? So now that we've gotten one set here, it's about time to ratchet it down. So we take our dowel, wrap around a few times. I get my knee on the ama, and I give it a really tight tug.
It's interesting. It actually torqued up on the other side. This ended up with air space between it when you pulled on it.
Okay.
But it's tight now.
So I'm going to take it on the outside of my first line, making sure that it stays on the outside of my line all the way through to the other side. Notice how it's still on the outside here, or closer to the boat. I'm gonna give another tug. And just fix my cross here. And then I'm gonna lay it down. The helper's gonna pass the string under the boat. I'm gonna be working my string out towards the boat again.
That made it go way up, Kate. Look at the air space that it did when you pull on it.
Great. So we're seeing some gap happening here. So I'm just going to...
It balances out after a minute, but when you pull it over,
It looks like it's a little bit torqued.
I'm wondering if it's because
Like
of
there's-
this being over.
I think it's going to be okay. So that's what you want to check, is to make sure that you're flush through here.
Okay.
As you get going, you're going to find it being tighter and tighter, which means it'll be safer and safer. So you see that my crosses are still working their way up the aku. My lines are not crossing. So I definitely keep my hand on my rope as I go over and under, so that I don't lose all of that tension that I've been building in the rope. That's looking okay. So you generally want to do 5 loops on every single section of this. With Calmar's, it's looking like 7 arm lengths is a little bit long. On Bradley's, whoops, you went the wrong way.
I did.
Yeah,
Very good.
very good.
Thank you.
So this is where it's starting to get tough. If you can see under here, you're starting to lose space, right? But you're definitely going to want to make sure that you don't have your string overlapping itself. That creates extra friction on your string and is another point of weakness. Yep.
It just caught you too.
Yeah. So we are at our first 5th lap. There's 5 here. Yeah, I had to order it from like Hawaii, I think. Okay, so we have gotten 5, 5, 5, 5, right? So this is where the most critical looping occurs. These don't hold this on nearly as much as this last wrap does, which cinches all of these even tighter. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start going around all of them.
Do you want to catch it under that loop? Under
Nope.
the ledge?
Nope, this is to
on the
cinch
ropes.
these together.
Okay.
Yes, this is hard on your body.
So I'm gonna capture what I stick there. So it's going right around there.
And then you're piling it on top.
I guess so. This one's, Calmars are a little different from Bradley's. So Bradley's, you have a much more obvious area where you loop. These are gonna look like they're going up the end of your aku a little bit. So you can see these starting to head up the aku here. Okay, go ahead.
Yep.
And again, you're gonna do 5 wraps. Oh goodness. All right, so we are at 5 on all sides. So now we are just going to finish up our wrap.
Am I going under?
Okay, now we can take that. Okay, Bryn,
It's on.
I'm gonna have you switch places with Dale.
Okay, well, he's untying it right now.
Well, actually,
Thanks, Dale.
I suppose, because
Just keep the loop on the end.
Okay, so what we've done is we've untied our knotted end, looped it over, and the tail end is pointing downwards. We've gone around our thing 5 times, and so we are now going to start making a loop up the aku. And every other
no, it's not.
one of these you can pull tightly. You don't have to make these exceptionally tight, but a good snugness is advised. Yeah, Jay, if you can help just guide it around the aku. Go again.
Except that you need one of these rings over here.
So this is making a tension fitting that will hold the ends underneath it so that you aren't actually tying any knots in your rope. It's pretty cool. And you want to do as many as you have rope for. The more the better. All right, and when you are at your end, you feed the end through the loop and hold that tight while the other person, Jay, pull here, is going to pull there. Go ahead and get it taut to this rope. Yep, and then just give it little tugs till we get it into the middle. Just a little bit more. There we go. So it is now right in the middle of our roping. And then we just tie off our ends for show. And that is how you finish up the rigging. That's it. Okay. So when you are rigging, you need 2 people to help you manage your rope because we want it off the ground as much as possible. So the 2 people generally stand here and here and are helping take the rope from the insides of the Ama's poles and then feeding it back to the person on this side. So for Bradley looping, we're going to do the same upper part. We loop it over the pin with our long end underneath our short end.
Okay.
And then we feed through the front hole. Person over here, if you can just grab that. Be pulling this through. And then it comes up and over the pin. And the persons on that side always are like managing the end of this rope and feeding that to the person who's rigging. So go ahead and grab this rope. It goes through the back hole. Perfect. Great.
Good enough?
All the way through. And watch how I'm keeping the rope off of the ground. I'll take your rope.
I need to move my thumb.
Okay, and then this, that, and then it comes over the pin again.
Okay.
Now, keep in mind that our rope is crossing itself, right?
Right.
As one of the tensions, and we want the rope to be feeding towards the upper end of the Bradley. Actually, it's going up the AMA, okay? Answer. So this is going to be going up this way. This one is going to be coming up
Keep going
this
up,
way
both of them.
on both sides.
Okay.
Okay. Where's my pin?
It's right here. Kate. Oh.
Another. Okay. So we always check to make sure that our AMA is sitting square this way as well as this way. Right now we are okay, so then this is where your people threading becomes important. So you'll go back through this hole, come back over here, and your X keeps going like that.